Mary was still in the house, mourning together with the Jewish people. And Martha quickly went to see her sister. He mentioned to her sister that the master is here and he is looking for her, is asking for her. Look at verse 32. When Mary reached the place where Jesus was and saw Jesus, she fell at his feet. She's crying the same, mentioning the same. Here is Mary, and this is Mary who had such a tender relationship with Jesus. Listen to what she is saying. She said, Lord, if you had been here, my brother would not have died. Martha said the same thing. Mary is saying the same thing, a desperate cry of two sisters who were completely at a loss. Lord, if you had been here, my brother would not have died. You have come late. He is already dead and he is rotting. The tears were coming out of Mary's eyes. And Jesus' heart was moved by the tears coming from Mary's eyes. Jesus has a feeling of compassion and love for you. My beloved, as you listen to me, I want you to know your tears are not in vain. When you cry, Jesus is watching. When you are in pain, he is going to walk with you in that pain. When you are bereaved, he is also going to walk with you in that bereavement. I want to assure you, those who have lost your dear ones, I understand what you are going through. When we are still living in England, one afternoon, our dear young girl died. After lunch, I was alone in that house with the two children, the younger boy and the last born. Mama had gone into the market to buy stuff. We were going to come back from England to Uganda. And when this girl died, she died. We did not know. I was in the house. Death simply came quietly and stole her away. Mama came back. Mama made tea. It was around 4 o'clock. She came back. She made tea. And one of my sons was sent to go and get the younger sister. And when he went up to the bed where the younger sister was, she looked very strange. And he came down to the mother and said, please go and change Deborah. She doesn't look okay. But when Mama went to the room, the little girl was dead. The little girl was dead. And when she put the baby down, came to me and said, Deborah is gone. When I went up, I saw indeed our daughter was dead. The pain of bereavement is a deep pain. I want to speak to you that if you have lost somebody so close to you, your wife, your husband, your children, and we know what it means to have that loss in your life, I want you to understand these girls were going through the same. I understand what that loss is. But do you know, when I took the baby, I had a prayer, and my prayer was this: Lord, I thank you for this little girl. You gave her here for us for a few years, and you have taken her. You are in charge. I still want to give you thanks. Why was I saying that? I was saying that because I know that we never lose our loved ones when they die in the Lord. We know time will come when we shall meet once again. Jesus cries with us. Jesus cried with those girls. Jesus cried with Mary. Look at verse 35. But verse 35, John is telling us clearly that Jesus wept. Jesus wept. A whole verse, only 2 words. He weeps because he also understands pain. He understands what it means to lose. And for these people, he is empathizing. He is not sympathizing, he's empathizing. He's walking with them in their pain together. He walks with you even when you are suffering. He walks with you when you are in pain. I told you in the last message that even though, David said, even though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I will not be afraid. Why? Because he is with me. He is with us at all times. He's walking with Mary and Martha, and he's crying together with them. Let me ask you a question. If Jesus knew Lazarus was going to be raised from the dead, why is he weeping? He's not weeping because Lazarus is dead. He's weeping because the Jews and Mary do not see anything that is victorious in death. They are actually admitting that death is our final enemy. We cannot overcome death. And he is seeing the weakness of humanity before death. Beloved, death is death to anybody. Whether you are rich, whether you are educated, whether you are strong, death is death. Everybody trembles before death. And here it was, They are confronting the biggest enemy, and he's so empathetic with these people. He understands that the power he has is over death also, but he has to walk with his own people who at the moment are under the bondage. Resurrection to come was still yet to come. It hadn't happened yet. He knew he would be raised from the dead himself, but at this moment he's still walking in the weakness of humanity. So Jesus came to the tomb. And when he came to the tomb, I want us to look at verse 39. He came to the tomb, he ordered, he said, take away the stone. Take away that stone. But Martha was right. Martha said, no, this is going to be a bit serious. This fellow has been in there for 4 days. There could be a bad smell. It will not be easy. She was very concerned. But of course, Jesus told Martha that haven't you believed? You will see the glory of God. And now for me, what moves me most is in verse 41. In verse 41, and they took away the stone. Then Jesus looked up. Listen to him. He's going to pray. And listen to his prayer. He said, Father, I thank you that you have heard me. I knew that you always hear me. But I said this for the benefit of the people standing here, that they may believe that you have sent me. He's an amazing person. He had such a powerful relationship with his Father. He said, Father, I thank you that you have already heard me. This is nothing as far as I'm concerned. It is finished. Why? Because you always hear me. What a powerful prayer of a man who understands a powerful relationship between him and his Father. I thank you, my Father. I know you always hear me. And in verse 43, he begins to act. When he said all these things, he called out in a loud voice, Lazarus, come out. He's calling his friend. He's not saying, dead man, come out. No, he's calling him by name. Lazarus, come out. He obeyed the voice of his friend. He obeyed the voice of his Lord. He came out. He came out. I don't know how he came out. The guy was all wrapped up. But he came out. He ordered, he came out. He heard the voice, he came out. What kind of voice is this? This is the voice of the Creator. This is a voice that moved nothing to become something. You remember at creation, God spoke, some things happened. God spoke, things came to being. The voice that brings life is a life himself. Immediately, quicker than the speed of light, something happened. The life came back into the body that had rotten. Life came back into the life of a man who had gone. The body got up. The body came out. And in verse 44, we are reading that the dead man came out. His hands and feet were wrapped in the strips of linen and a cloth around his face. I don't know how he came out. I don't know how he walked out. That is not our issue. The issue is even when he was rotting, power came into his life. He came back to life, so he can as well come out. Why not? Jesus is going to tell these guys, he ordered them in verse 44. Let me read for you. The dead man came out, his hands and feet wrapped with strips of linen and a cloth around his face. And then Jesus said to people who were there, take off the grave cloth and let him go. He was doing something which is amazing here. He's ordering the people, you wrapped him, now unwrapped him. What you could not do, I have done. Life had come back to a man who was dead. Now remove what was making him a dead man. He's alive. Take away everything. It's amazing, you know. I just look at this story and my heart is welling with joy. Why? Because there is somebody who declares he has power over death. Nobody else has power over death. Your money doesn't even save you from death at all. The love of your spouse can never save you from death at all. The love of your parents can never save you from death. Only Jesus has the power to save people from dying. Even those who are dead, Jesus will bring them back to life. Here we see one particular story of a man by the name Lazarus. There are other two that we know of in the Bible. And here is a great joy that Jesus never ever attended a funeral. He always changed the funeral to be totally different. Here it is, the funeral has turned into celebration. In the home of Jairus, when he went in there, people were mourning, but he even turned that funeral into celebration. The son of the widow in Nain, he found the body being taken for burial. He stopped them, and celebration came in instead of mourning.
Brought to you by Words of Hope, Bishop Henry Luke Orombi, a retired Archbishop of the Church of Uganda.
Oh, and when I am alone, and when I am alone, give me Jesus.